provocative, prophetic, and practical.
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
Informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do. Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
With James Kirkland. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew.
Have y'all can say hello, let me know you're here. And also, please, ma'am, please first share. My internet looks like it's trying to.
Intellectual stew.
I'm letting people know I'm on, y'all. So bear with me. And if you would share this or tag a few people, let them know you're on.
Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew.
Almost. I'm still working, but okay. All right. So I'm still working, but what's up? What y'all doing? How y'all doing tonight? If you're in the chat, say hello. Let me know that you're listening. Let me know where you're listening from. And we'll get this conversation started in a few minutes. I'm trying to wait on some of our faithful people to come in so we can have a good open mic night. Now, I do have something that I would like to discuss. I'm not gonna lie. I do have something that I would like to discuss. So I'm probably gonna kind of set the table tonight, and then you all can after I kind of share this information that I'm going to share, or kind of set this tone with this introduction that I do. Then what we'll do, if y'all can hear me, let me know you can hear me by putting a one in the chat for me, please. If you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. Let me know that I'm transmitting. Please, ma'am, please, sir. Put a 1 in the chat and just let me know that you can hear me. Oh, you know what? Or I can do it like this if y'all don't want to help me. Nobody wants to be nice and help me tonight. I'm not going to call you out. I promise I won't. If you don't want to be called out, I won't call you out. Share this. Okay, yeah, I'm good. I just turned my phone up real quick to see if I'm on. So obviously you can hear me. So it is another Monday night, and it's open mic night. It's an opportunity for us, not for me to have a monologue, but it's more so a platform so that we can have a dialogue. I'll share something or you'll share something, and we'll like I said, you just never know. Like I've said before, like you just never know who is eavesdropping and who might be going through something, and because they might, and sometimes when you go through things, that's not a tongue twister. I don't know why I made that hard. Sometimes when you go through things, you also groan through things, but groaning and growing are synonymous, right? If you're being stretched, typically if you're being stretched, you're also being strengthened. So in this thing called life, it has a way of stretching us. And I don't know who you ascribe to as the orchestrator of your life. I do. I ascribe to God. So I think that there are times, and this is just my own personal theology. I can't speak for nobody else. I think there are times that He allows us to go through certain tests, and those tests have a funny way. A funny way. I'm still inviting people. Those tests have a funny way of becoming testimonies at a certain point, right? And those testimonies, from what I heard, people are overcomers by the blood of the Lamb and the words of their testimony. So as we share our testimonies and people are able to identify with our testimonies, then they know that if God did it for them, guess what? And He's not a respecter of persons, He'll also do it for them too. And so testimonies have a way, for me now, I'm just talking about me, they have a way of building faith. They have a way of building faith, and not just my faith, but it also has a way of building the faith of others, right? Because when they see that God does it for somebody else, then they get a little antsy, or they get a little strengthened, because they think, you know what, if He did it for him, I got a sneaky suspicion that He just might do the same thing for me. So I think it's good to have these types of platforms for us to come on and to share. Now, like I said, as you come in tonight, first of all, say hello. Second of all, let me know where you're listening from. And then third of all, if you would, please, ma'am, please, sir, share this thread. Share this thread, okay? If y'all will do that for me, I will be ever so grateful. And we'll get started on this conversation in just a moment. It is open mic night, but I do have something tonight that I want to introduce to the conversation. If y'all don't mind, I have something that I want to introduce to the conversation. And as we talk about it, I got a couple of people that I've asked to step in tonight. If you all don't jump on, I know, like I said, I know it's open mic night. I know, we're open to talk about anything, and we will. I promise you we will. But I have something that I want to introduce first, because sometimes, whenever God gives me a sermon, and I'm not preaching tonight, I'm gonna look at the camera in a minute. I'm just trying to find something. Whenever God gives me a sermon, right, He gives me divine inspiration, right? He gives me divine inspiration. And then once He gives me that divine inspiration, then I go do research, I study. What's up, Kimberly? Hey, Kimberly, how you doing? You killed that song, Praise Is What I Do. I said, girl, you better sing. But anyway, I get this divine inspiration. So the other day I'm riding, and I start thinking about this hashtag. Let me move that's on my shirt. I thought about this hashtag that's on my shirt called On the Path to Better. And I started thinking about a conversation I had with a stranger, probably 15 years ago. Hey, what's going on, Lisa? I had this comment. If you haven't liked this post, I really would like you to heart it and share it. And because this is going to get good in a few minutes. Okay. Now you see this On the Path to Better, I'm riding and I'm thinking about my process, because I'm really enjoying this journey I'm on. I told you all, if you've been following me for a while, I told you that sometimes God puts you through these tests in life. And sometimes it's like surgery with no anesthesia. You're awake. Hey, Alicia, how you doing? Look, got my water. And that's like my third bottle. But, so It's like surgery with no anesthesia. You're going through, you're groaning through, but you're growing through. He stretches you, but he strengthens you. And you understand the process. And when you understand the process, because you understand that you have a purpose, it's easier to go through the process because I know it's something waiting on the other side. So as I'm going through this process now, and I am going through this process, I start to understand this thing. Grandmama and them told me, Lisa, that I'd understand it better by and by. And I honestly feel like I'm living in the by and by right now. I really do. I feel like I'm living in the by and by. And I start listening to God as he's speaking to me the other day. And I start thinking about this concept, Anthony McCreary, of the new north. A new north, a new north. So let me get started. Welcome back to Open Mic Night right here on the Intellectual Stew, where we have real talk about real life, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. You know, I'm your host, James Kirkland, a man who knows what it feels like to be stuck, broken, and unsure of what's next. Let me be honest with you tonight. Let me be real with you. There was a time in my life, what's good, bro? Right after my divorce when I was literally stuck. Not just emotionally stuck, but I was physically stuck. I was numb. I was literally sitting on my couch every day. That's why I wrote the book, Stuck on the Couch, questioning who I was, what I had left or what I had lost, and where I was going. I didn't like my situation. I didn't like my mindset. I was circling the same thoughts over and over and then one day I had an epiphany. God whispered something in my ear. He whispered something in my spirit that literally changed everything. You know what he said to me, Brittany, he said, "You've been here long enough. It's time to get up." That was the beginning of my new north. And that's what tonight is all about. Hey, what's up, Tanitra? How you doing? Dr. Williams. But here it is. And let me tell you what the new north is. The new north is that moment when God tells you that you have circled this mountain long enough. Now turn north. Because understand, the new north is not just about location. It's about transformation. It's when the children of Israel knew what it meant to be stuck. They had been freed from Egypt, delivered from slavery by God's mighty hand. But instead of stepping directly, thank you all for sharing it. Y'all heart it, like it, share it, please. But instead of stepping directly into their promise, they wandered in the wilderness, not because God failed them, but because of fear, disobedience, unbelief, complaining. All of those things kept them stuck. And you know what they did? They ended up circling the same mountain for nearly 48 years, 38 years. They circled the same mountain. But guess what happened while they were circling the mountain? 4 generations died. Because see, God said that there was a certain segment, old ways, old ideas, old habits, old ways of living, old ways of thinking. He said all of those things have to die before they could go into the promised land. So because they complained, they had to go back into the wilderness, and for 38 years, things had to die so that they could go into, let me tell you something, as you go into your new north, as you go into your place of promise, because let me drop this one on you for free. All of us have a purpose. I don't care who you are. Grandmama and them said it like this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. God gives a light to everyone that comes into the world. We all have a purpose. And most of us, once we find our purpose, we move towards that purpose. But until we, thank you, Holy Spirit, until we start to operate in the purpose that God has designed for us, what we end up doing is we end up wandering just like the children of Israel. See, the children of Israel were right on the brink of their blessing. But you know where they messed up? They tried to assess what God told them to access. How many times have you messed up trying to assess what God told you to access? He gave you the promise, gave you the roadmap, showed you what the end was going to look like, told you to stay on the yellow brick road. But instead of accessing it, you start trying to assess it. You know what they decided? They decided they're going to pick out 12 spies. And the 12 spies were going to go scope it out. See, the book of Deuteronomy, it's the book of repetition. A lot of what happened in Numbers and all the other books, they begin to repeat some of those themes in Deuteronomy. And so they're showing the story of when the 12 spies went to scope out the land. But instead of focusing on the grapes, they decided to focus on the giants. And so instead of focusing on fruit, we end up feeding our fear, and we miss the promise. And because they missed the promise, God said, you got to go back into the wilderness, because you can't go to the next level if you haven't whipped the last devil. You can't go to the next level if you haven't learned the past lesson. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So because they didn't get it the first time, oh, I'm feeling this tonight. They had to go around 38 more years, because God said, if I can't, watch this, if I can't get Egypt, I got you out of Egypt, but I couldn't get Egypt out of you. So I got some people, those of you all who are associated with Egypt, I'm going to leave you right where you are in the wilderness. Can I drop this one on you for free? It's some people that still have Egypt inside of them that you're going to have to leave in the wilderness if you want to go to the promise. I'm just talking to somebody. Talk. I'm talking. Can we talk? Can we talk for a moment? Can we talk? Because what happens is there will come a time. And that's what happened in Deuteronomy chapter 2. And that's what gives me hope. Yeah, some of y'all haven't liked this post yet. Like it, heart it, share it, do something for me. But watch this. See, that's what happens in Deuteronomy chapter 2. After they had, watch this, after they had come past the same mountain. Compass means circle. That means going through the same thing over and over again. That means going through the motions over and over again. That means going through the motions over and over and over and over again. And can I tell you something? Anything if you continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting to get different results, that kind of sounds like insanity to me. Does that make sense? Yeah. But after they had compassed the mountain for 38 years, nearly 40 years, you know what God says? God says, watch this. Watch this. God says, you've compassed this mountain long enough. Isn't it good news to know that at a certain point, God will look at your situation and say, you've compassed, or you've been in it, or you've gone through it. In fact, how many of you ever had a moment in your life where God literally said, you've been through this enough, now it's time for you to go into another direction? That's right, Brittany, stuck on being stagnant. So many people stuck in the same place, going through the same thing. Look like to me, Brittany, this is just me talking. This is my logical thinking mind. That's just how I think. Look like to me, if I'm compassing the same rock for 38 years, look like somebody would have looked up and said, ain't that the same rock we passed last year? I mean, haven't we been around? Haven't we? And look like if you keep going through the same thing, look like at some point you ought to say, I'm tired of going through this. I mean, I made the same mistake. One thing Pops taught me, he taught me that choices and consequences were cousins, right? They were connected, right? And so if I make a choice, then I have to be able to live with those consequences. And so if I continue to go through the same thing over and over again without watch this, here it is, without having some type of self-awareness, then I will continue to wander. And see, instead of wondering, they should have been wondering, why are we going through the same thing over and over again? Because you didn't learn the lesson. And that's why a lot of us go through the same thing over and over again, because we failed to learn the lesson. But then at a certain point, thankfully, God says that's enough. It's time to change direction. And you know what that is? That's a shift. That is a divine pivot. In fact, that was their new north. And see, here you are, somebody now listening under the sound of my voice. Some of you right now are circling your mountain. I don't know what your mountain is, but some of you are circling your mountain. You're stuck in a relationship, stuck in that same relationship cycle. You're stuck in a mental rut, or you're stuck in a spiritual drought. Seems like you can't produce. Just like you're not where you should be, but you've gotten comfortable in the pain. Let me see what that. Discernment has to be a part of our divine growth process. It's right. And you know what? And I hear you on that, Brittany, because discernment, it should be. And if we don't have discernment, at least we should have perception, right? At least a proper perception. See, discernment, depending on your faith, I kind of believe that's a spiritual gift. And I know God gives gifts to those whom he chooses to give those to. And some people, I think, minimize and dilute some of the spiritual gifts. Now, true enough, I think we all have spidey senses, and we should have a sense of perception. And a lot of times our perception is based on our realities and our orientation and what we've been exposed to, because it's hard to become something that you've not been exposed to and you haven't been embraced, right? So if you've had a limited perspective, it's because you probably had limited exposure. I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry. I said it. I shouldn't have said it. Anyway, some of you right now still circling your mountain, stuck in that relationship cycle. Just like me after my divorce, you knew not where you should be. You know you're not where you should be. But what happens is you become comfortable in the pain. And the way you get comfortable, and because you're comfortable in the pain, you find something to self-medicate. Because while you're in the pain, you got to do something to numb the pain, right? Because nobody just really, now sometimes we kind of associate ourselves with the pain, and we expect pain to be a part of our life, but pain is not natural, right? That isn't something we should have to get used to. But some of us do it because we keep on circling this. Yeah, Hennessy will do it. Hennessy will do it. If you like that brown, some people, Hennessy will do it. Some people like a little more clear, different ways, but that's their way of numbing the pain. And right now, tonight, I want to speak to you to the part of, here it is. Let me say it like this. I want to speak to the part of you, Brittany, that knows that you can't, that the part that says, I can't stay here. I need to speak not to the mask, because a lot of us wear masks because we want to look the part. We don't want people to know we're hurting. That's why Brittany Arnold's on right now. And I really have come to admire Brittany through social media, because I've seen how transparent she has been with her journey. And so when I told her I was talking about New North tonight, that's why I specifically asked her to come on, and she was like, what's that? And, she didn't say it, she texted, I'm sorry, or inboxed it. And I explained it. She's like, oh yeah, I'll be there. Because I think some of us are in a real place of transition. I told you a couple of weeks ago that some of us are about to experience some major breakthroughs. Don't get caught up in the war. Don't get caught up in the politics right now. Because we're a part of a different remnant, right? We're part of don't get caught up in that. Don't get caught up in that. That's all I got to say about that. I'm not going to fight you theologically. I'm not going to do that. Bless your heart. Run with it however you want to do it. But get ready for the blessing that's getting ready to be bestowed upon you, because it's literally going to blow your mind. I don't know why I'm hearing it, but for some people, your blessing is going to be like an overnight blessing. You're going to look up tomorrow and everything will have changed. Trust me when I tell you, but you got to get ready to transition from your wilderness. That's what I've definitely been uncomfortable, because, thank you, Brittany, because frustration precedes fruitfulness. Frustration, right? Somebody put that in the chat. Frustration precedes fruitfulness. You need to put that on Facebook and tag me when you say it. Frustration precedes fruitfulness. You get frustrated right before God takes you into the fruitful place that he's about to take you. And you're going to discover that you're getting ready to experience a new north. Hear me when I tell you on that. Hear me when I tell you. And you know what's going to happen? Just like my shirt, you're going to get on the path to better. When I was stuck on the couch, I knew, and listen, I got the link in the chat. Avery, if you're there, come on, jump up here for a minute. Come up here for a minute, Avery, if you're there. Go ahead. Yeah. Avery, the link is right there. I want Avery to come up here for a minute if you're there. Because I think so many people have gotten so comfortable with pain that they think their life is synonymous with pain, so they don't believe that better exists. That's why when I first introduced this hashtag, I want some of y'all to answer this in the chat. But when I first introduced this hashtag, one of the first things I said was, how are you going, and listen to the video when I played it sometimes before the show. I say, how you going to do better if you don't know what better looks like? Y'all answer that. Somebody answer that in the chat. Answer that in the chat. I'm hoping Avery, if Avery's on, I want Avery to come sit on stage. Okay, Avery's here. I want to get Avery on the chat with me for a minute. And then I'm going to get some more people. But I got Avery right quick. Hold on. That my boy is Pastor Thompson. What it do, Avery, my man? What's up, Avery? Can you hear me? Turn your mic on and turn your sound on.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, there we go.
Hey.
What it do, bro?
What's going on, brother? Hey, man, you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you well now. Let's go. You good? Congratulations, bro, on the church, man.
There we go.
All right,
man. Congratulations
on the church. Congratulations on the church, man. Good thing.
I didn't want to stop your flow.
Bro, I told you.
I didn't want to stop your flow,
I just wanted to set the stage. I just wanted to set the stage. Listen, this is the question for the people in the chat. Answer this question for me. How do you do better if you don't know what better looks like? Do me a favor. Tell me what better looks like to you. What does better look like to you? Go ahead, Avery, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Better to me looks like what it looks like. It looks like me beyond the state that I'm in. Better looks like a glimpse of what I know God has shown me, and despite where I'm at, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get to that point that I know God is, that purpose that he's placed in me. So better is beyond circumstance. Even though I may be in it, even though I may be circling around the mountain, I see myself walking in a new direction. So I do whatever I have to do to adjust my now to go to where I'm going.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Yeah, that's good. Anybody else in the chat? Y'all started in the chat. I'll get somebody on stage with me in a minute, but Avery and I are going to talk for a minute. Avery, let's talk about this text a little bit, man. Because we know they had messed up for complaining, and God was sick of that complaining, right? And he sent them back into the mountain. But a little bit, Avery, a part of me wants to give them credit, because even though they were wandering in his will, because they stayed in the confinements of the circle, and they were disciplined enough to stay in the circle until God said it's time to move.
Can I push back?
Push back.
What if they just got comfortable in that dysfunction? And the circle represented the dysfunction, and they didn't know how to get out of it. And I only say that because notice who initiated the turning northward. It wasn't them. It was God. It was God. God said, hold on, wait a minute. Y'all have gotten so comfortable in this merry-go-round that you're on. And I know exactly that I brought you out of Egypt to go to the promised land, and you're stuck in this moment right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bypass your what you just called insanity, and I'm going to say, hey, we're going to go on. But here's the thing about it, though, Jane. Here's the thing about it, though. And some of us may be there now. Regardless of if they were ready or not, he said, you got to make a change. So the wilderness or the circle was also preparation for the next. So whether they were ready or not, when God said it's time to turn, if those who were ready and made preparation when to turn, they just went on into it. But those who were not, they went into it, but they were still, like you said, they still had Egypt on the inside of them, and they were dealing with it.
Perhaps, but can I push back a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Because I would have to ask you a question. Did he change their direction because of or in spite of?
Oh, see.
I'm just asking, because if he did it in spite of, that means they never learned the lesson. But if he did it because of, they were there long enough. See, the part that makes it tight for me is because he said, you compass this mountain long enough. And see, that enough, if I take the word enough out of that text, it changes the whole connotation and context of the text, right? So
like
when he
said, I ain't gonna argue with you.
Yeah, this is me and Avery having. We look, and what's funny is we're talking like this in front of y'all, but we have these conversations all the time on the phone. It ain't nothing new. So what do y'all think? See, because sometimes I do think sometimes God does things in spite of, because there were times, because he saved me in spite of. In fact, Romans 5:8 says, while we were yet sinners, right? That means he did it. Well, Romans 8:5, one of them. But anyway, he did it in spite of, because while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. See, I didn't get it together, but in spite of me being how I was or how I am, I don't know where you are in your state right now, but in spite of me being who I am, he did it anyway, right? So by the same context, if we find ourselves, I'm not supposed to be talking, you're supposed to be talking. If we find ourselves going around the same thing over and over again, and we've been disciplined enough to wait on the word, because see, why it's one thing to wander in the will, but it's another thing to wait on the word.
Right.
And they waited until they got the word, because he said what? Turn northward.
Turn north.
Yeah.
So the word precedes the way, right? So yeah, to your point, because if they had not got a word to move, they would have been moving and circling one more time. Yeah.
Let me ask some people in the chat. Let me ask some of y'all chat. Have you ever found yourself wandering, but even though you were wandering, you felt like you were still wandering in his will? Because see, even when they were in the wilderness, you remember at a certain time they had a covering, right? What was that covering?
Cloud.
Pillar
of cloud.
Pillar of fire by day.
Right.
I mean, pillar of cloud by day. And a pillar of fire by night. See, even when you're wandering, people in the chat, people who listen to me, even when you're wandering, you can still be wandering in his will. Talk about that for a minute, Dave.
Oh man. For he knows the way that I take. Right.
Come here, Avery. Come on. Look at y'all. His mind going to work right now. Both.
So when you say that, a lot of times, oh man, because you said something key. A lot of times we're wondering anyway until we get the word, because it's the word. What he says, thy word is a lamp unto my feet, right? So how can I really know my direction if I don't get a word? So in essence, I'm really just wondering until I get the word. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded. So the word is the thing that's guiding me. So if I'm just going on my own, I'm just going on my own. So it's the word, as you said, that gives me illumination to keep moving in, or to give me in the direction that I need to go.
But you know the interesting part about that, and I got this revelation while you were talking. How effective are lamps in light, in daylight?
Oh.
Because if he says that the word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path, right? He's not talking about doing that in the daytime, because you got to understand the context. Now, they didn't have electricity, right? They didn't have street lights. So if they were wandering, and they were trying to get to a certain place, they had to have something that would guide them as they went. Thankfully, we have the word of God. Thankfully, we have a relationship. Thankfully, once we get to know him, then thy word becomes the light, a lamp unto my feet, a light unto my pathway.
So are you suggesting that perhaps maybe it's not dark enough in our lives yet?
I think I'm suggesting that we were once in darkness, as scripture says, but he's brought us out of darkness into marvelous light. I think that when we were in darkness, the light was very, very necessary. And I think also it becomes it proves the point of Matthew chapter 5. Ye are the light of the world, right? And he says, let your light so shine. He didn't say make it, because some of us can pay the power bill and make it shine. But he said, let your light shine, right? You know, and then some of them make the lights look real brilliant. They use LED lights, lighting boards. They put color lights. They, put names in lights, all kind of things, because they can make it shine. But when you shown up, let it shine. When you let it shine, guess what happens? men see your good works.
Yes, sir.
And they want to know who the same God it is that you're worshiping. Anthony just said it right there. He said, our steps are ordered. And when you know you have ordered steps, sometimes it's like taking a walk with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get where you're going. Let me see what Brittany said. Brittany said sometimes it takes situations to take place in your life before you actually get the message God been trying to deliver the whole time. For me, it takes lessons for me to go through all while I'm growing through it. Absolutely. And like I said earlier, Brittany, sometimes when you go through it, and between the going and the growing is some groaning.
Right.
Sometimes between the going and, between the launching pad and purpose and the process is some pain.
Right.
But as you go through it and you grown through it, as I said earlier, Avery, and you might agree, when God stretches us, it has a way of strengthening us.
Most definitely.
But don't nobody want to go through anything. Or if they go through it, they think they're supposed to go through it forever. I had somebody get mad at me for telling them that. I said, you seem to wear suffering like it's a badge of honor.
Oh, man. Yeah, no.
Man, I think the Bible says after you've what? Suffered a while.
That means just for our light afflictions.
Yeah.
Which are but for a moment,
I suffer for a little while. My suffering has a season, but I understand also, Avery, that my suffering is a seed. And any seed that I get, I'm going to plant it.
Right.
Because if I plant it, the seed that I plant produces.
Right.
And it produces something that others can benefit from. One little seed of a tree can be planted. And when it plants, it blesses so many entities. It blesses birds.
Right.
It blesses bugs. It blesses people with shade. If it's a fruit tree, it blesses fruit. I mean, people with meat.
Right.
I mean, because of something as small as a seed. And if you understand that your suffering is a seed, here it is. Watch this, Avery. Brittany, you're going to like this one. Watch this. Some things, Alicia, we don't suffer through. When we have the proper perception, we realize that we're suffering too.
Right.
Because there's something on the other side of my suffering.
Right.
Talk to me, Avery. Let me know if I'm right or wrong, please. My own point.
Right. I mean, it goes back to when you said that. The first thing, of course, that pops in my mind is Job.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of time we just don't understand it while we're in it.
Yeah.
And we a lot of time we get the revelation once we come out of it that this was for my good. And we know all things are working together. It may not feel good. It doesn't feel good at the moment. No chastening is good at the time.
No.
But it produces the greatest fruit once you realize what the purpose of it was.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Will you be transparent to people?
Of course. You know me.
You are 54? 55? 55. He old, y'all. He's a double nickel. Question. Explain to the people what a mountain is that you've had to face and that you can pass for a long time.
Oh, man.
And hold on. And that's a question I want to ask you all in the chat. What has been your moment? Was it thoughts, habits, cycles? What has been your mountain that you kept circling over and over again? Talk to me, Avery.
Well, you know my book. So the P word was mine.
The what word?
The P word.
What's the P word?
That cycle.
Oh, okay. I'm joking, y'all.
Yeah.
Can you give me a synonym for the P word?
Popcorn.
Yo, what can wash away my
that was the mountain. That was the cycle.
By the blood of Jesus. I'm praying for you right now. You hear me saying
you don't
that?
have to. You know my story.
Good. Yeah, I have read this book, and if you haven't read, tell them the name of your book. Those that might want to get
the preacher and his porn.
Preaching his porn. So he had an addiction. He had something he was dealing with for years, and he's dealt with it since then. And he wrote about it. And he's told me. So how long? I'm gonna ask me. How long did you go around that mountain?
Oh, man.
Do you feel like saying?
What? 25 plus years?
Wow.
Yeah.
Church every Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Great guy. Husband, father. productive member of society, all of those things. But guess what? Avery had a mountain.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody better than Avery, because all of us have had some type of mountain. Jarvis just said his mountain was sin. Stacy said his mountain was self-doubt. Lisa said her mountain was family. All of us have had mountains. And while not all of us, I guess not. I guess some of y'all might not have had them. I get them. But I believe some, if you're really truly honest, you might not. At least I thought you just wrote that you had one. It was family. Are you speaking to other people that might not have had a mountain? I believe most of us at some point have had a mountain. Now, some people have gotten to a place where they want to. Because see, watch this, Lisa. Thank you. Always do this for me, and I'm not fussing at Lisa. I talk to Lisa like this offline too. But the reason why some people have not gotten a mountain yet is because they have not gotten to a place of self-awareness yet. Right? But you can be so desensitized and so enamored and so euphoric, caught up in that state, because it's a spiritual state. That's why Paul was very specific, Avery, when he said, put on the what? Helmet of salvation. Because you got to guard that mind, because that's the way the enemy wants to enter in a lot of time. He gets in, plays on the theater of your thoughts.
Right.
And when he plays on the theater of your thoughts, that's where he starts. And if he can keep and seduce you for so long, you won't even realize you were dealing with a mountain.
Right.
But I know it's some people that don't. You cut them, they don't bleed. They're gonna wake up, they're on their way to heaven, enjoying the trip. I get it. But those of us that ain't. Okay, Lisa, Brittany, hold on. Brittany said hers was being able to control her temper. Now I've seen Brittany go ham on somebody. Brittany, I do not ever want to be your enemy. I don't, because I've seen Brittany, I've seen it, and I've watched her, but I watched her do something. I'm gonna tell you what was so powerful about Brittany one time. I saw Brittany, somebody tried to start some beef with Brittany, and they did. They messed with the wrong one. She got them. She did. But she came back and apologized.
Wow. On
the same platform, and said, I was wrong. We shouldn't be doing it like that. And then took a social media break and said, let me do a self-assessment and a reevaluation. And now she's documenting her journey. That's why I want her to come on here and talk. Brittany, if you're ready, tell me. Just click in. I'll get you in here for a minute. Or if you want to call, you can call. But yeah, Brittany is the truth. And that's why I specifically asked her to come on tonight and talk about this and listen to this show about the New North. Because even when you're in those states, there will come a time that God will say, that's enough. Right. It's time to move forward. Right. That's right. It's time to move forward. Avery, I know you got taking care of your wife. I know she had surgery, so I'm not going to hold you any longer. If you want to stay in the chat, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, Avery, that's my dude, y'all. I told him, I asked him would he come on for 10 to 15 minutes, and he said he would, and I appreciate him. I hope y'all tell Avery good night. And tell Lisa that we are praying for her. Okay, Brittany.
Yes, sir.
Tell Lisa we're praying for her. And we're going to actually pray for her by the time the show is over with tonight. All right.
Appreciate you, bro. All right.
Good night, my friend. We'll talk later on. All right. So let me do this right quick. Hold on. Let me because I need to try to get some stuff together right quick. Let me play a quick commercial. Y'all stay right there. I'll be right back. Hold on. In the blink of an eye, everything can change. 20 years of marriage, 3 beautiful children, a home filled with memories, gone. James Kirkland II was left with nothing but the silence of his own thoughts and a couch that became his prison. But in the depths of despair, subtle reminders of purpose began to pierce through the darkness. God had not forgotten him. In every small sign, in every whisper, in the stillness, James began to rediscover who he was and why he was still here. Stuck on the Couch is not just a story of loss, but a journey of resilience, faith, and the courage to embrace a new normal. Available now wherever books are sold. All right. So if you all have not purchased your books, you can either get it through Amazon or somewhere like that, or you can just reach out to me personally and I will send you it. It is if I do it for you, if you order it online, it's $22.97 plus taxes. If you get it from me, just send me $25 and I'll send you the book, and that'll cover your postage as well. Okay. So reach out to me if you have not purchased Stuck on the Couch and you want to get a copy of that book. You can get it. Now, the first segment was heavy. Okay. It was but necessary. But I don't just want to talk at you tonight. I want to talk to you. Okay. Because here's what I believe. I believe some of the most powerful revelations come through real life testimonies. I'm just of the opinion that real powerful revelations come through real life testimonies. So I want to invite someone to come on stage with me and help us unpack this idea of the new north. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa has read the book. I want to unpack this idea of the new life, a little new north a little further. Brittany's about to call in a minute. She don't want to get on camera with me. So she said she wasn't ready for camera tonight, but she's going to call in, and I do want to hear part of her story. I want to give her an opportunity to talk because her story is so powerful. It really is. But I want to talk about this journey because if we are being honest, Israel's trip from Egypt to the promised land should have only taken 8 days. Let me say that again. Okay, I'm ready now. Yeah, it really should have only taken 8 days, but you know how long it ended up taking? It ended up taking 40 years, right? Because sometimes God doesn't take us the quick way. Sometimes he takes us the safe way, because he knew that if they had gone the quick way, they would have saw the giants and they would have went back to Egypt, because we have a tendency of going with the familiar whenever we face fear. And when you continue to go with what you know, I'm ready, Brittany, whenever you are. When you continue to go with what you know, you will always end up where you were. Right. So he says, I'm not going to take you the quick way. I'm going to take you through the wilderness, because there's some things in the wilderness that I've got to get out of you. And if they had seen, here it is. I'm getting my call now. Let me get it. Let me get my call. Here we go. All right. Brittany, you there? Hello? All right, cool. Let me get you on. Let me get you on 1 second, please. I got to share. I'm not as good at this as you are. Hold on. All right, when I bring Brittany on, y'all, I want y'all to let me know if y'all can hear her or not. All right, so let me do this. Get her phone. All right, cool. All right, so y'all, Brittany, say hello so I can make sure everybody can hear you.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
All right, if y'all can hear Brittany,
let me.
Go ahead. If y'all can hear her, dropping one in the chat. Y'all go ahead.
Can everybody hear me? I would have came on, but no, I wasn't ready.
I want us to collaborate on something for real, Brittany. Somebody. Oh, yeah, okay. Lisa said they can hear you, because honestly, I've come.
Okay,
let me tell you something. I watch social media, you know what I'm saying, but I'm not drawn to much, you know what I'm saying, because it's a lot of bull stuff out here. And I watch people, but when I watch them, I read their writings, but I also listen to their minds, right? Because I figured that what you put on the end of your pen is the sum total of your thoughts, your mind, you know, and you're so transparent. And like I said, and so I started to admire you by watching you. And I said, man, she's raw as I don't know what. But the first time I came in your inbox, even though you got all these followers, you have all these viral videos, I asked you a question about my podcast. And man, Brittany started sending me agreements, sponsor agreements. She started sending me all these templates trying to tell me how to build my podcast, and didn't know me from Adam. And I appreciate that. And I never will. I haven't used it yet, but I appreciate you. And I want to say
no problem.
Yeah. All right. So talk to me now. Now that we've had this conversation, now that you've heard 30, 40 minutes of this conversation, you've heard what a new north is. How does that resonate, or how do you relate to that?
Well, I would say it resonates to me it resonates to my childhood. It resonates coming up as a teenager. It resonates in my adult life, because learning lesson never stops. It doesn't stop. There was a time that I didn't want to be here anymore. It was a time that I felt like I had nothing left to give and nobody to call. Um, I tried to take my own life. It's like I was done, but God wasn't. God was not done with me. And it was a time I woke up in the hospital room. I had IVs in my arm, pain in my chest, and tears. I just didn't know what they was there for. I didn't understand what was happening. But the first person that I saw at the time was my granny, and God knew at that moment like who to send because He knew who had always like made me feel safe. And even when I wanted to let go, He held me tighter. Like at that time in my life, I was broken, jobless. I was pregnant and didn't know I was. They didn't tell me till after, I was getting ready to go home that I'm pregnant. So just imagine trying to take your life in, finding out that you're pregnant. But God let me know. He whispered, like, you're not finished yet. And I mean, let me tell y'all something. I didn't grow because like that easier. Like I grew because God gave me the strength to stand like in the fire, like and not be consumed by it. That's why I grew. There was days like I couldn't see the light. I'm talking about I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to do my hair, brush my teeth, wash my face, wash my butt. I literally sat in misery for months, like literally for months. I sat in misery for so many months that my baby was failure to thrive. I mean, he wasn't growing, I wasn't growing, and it's about to bring tears to my eyes now because in that moment back then, I was trying to be a mother to someone, but my own mother was not a mother to me. And I love my mother to death. We have a great relationship now, but back then she was battling herself. So imagine a kid that was used to getting her butt beat, getting called out her name, and different things like that. Now I'm having to be a mother to something I don't even know what it is. I don't know how to be a mother. And now they telling me my son not growing. So I mean, I went through all of that, and I still knew that God was there because in the back of my mind or the back in my gut, like it was something that was giving me strength. It was something that was making me get up. It was something that was saying you can't give up. It was something that was saying I know your mother wasn't a good mother, but you got to try to be a good mother to this child. You got to, and I want to recant, not a good mother, but she just it was things that she was battling with that held her from being a nicer person to me. You know what I mean? Um, so like I said, I'm not here because I was strong. I'm not here because it was just me. My name Brittany, and I just wanted to survive. It wasn't me. That was God. Because I'm telling you, it was days I could not get up. I didn't want to get up. So my thing is, and that's just like the beginning of when I started realizing that God is real. If you don't believe in God, you better believe in Him now because how are you getting through this? And then I started going through relationships. And then relationships just wasn't no good. But I'm steady going back to these relationships trying to find that love that I wasn't getting. And guess what? God was still there. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this not working, but God here. You just had a fight with this man. He probably about to go to jail. All this other type of stuff. And y'all, how are you getting through it? And then, I get older and now I'm an adult. Now I got 2, 3 kids. And again, I'm in situations where I'm stealing. I'm in these stores trying to provide for my kids because this man not helping me provide for my kids, which is no excuse. But I didn't know how to take care of my kids financially. One of them sick, not to mention have sickle cell. I didn't say that, but he was in the hospital and out the hospital so much to the point I couldn't even keep a job. But again, God was there. I know God was there because how am I getting through this? So I found myself with a charge from stealing, and that made me sit down. Either you finna be a good mama to these kids, or you finna go your ass to jail. Excuse me, you finna go to jail. That's what's finna happen. Like you're going to jail, or you finna sit down. With you choose. So that's when I had to sit down for 9 years. In 9 years, I was in probation. I had to pay these people all this money every month, or I'm going to jail. And so I had to sit there and I had to find ways to make money. And again, I was thinking like, if I can't go find a job because they're not going to hire me because I got this stuff from my background. So now what do? And I tell you not, I bullcrap you not. My first year opening up my own business, selling chocolate covered strawberries, I made over $18,000 in a year. And that's when, I mean, I hadn't been to college. I don't know how to, handle my finances at the time. This was all just me figuring it out. That was God. I mean, there's no other way to put that. That was God. After 9 years of being on probation and, you know what I mean, making it work with the strawberries and stuff, I got my Class B license. Eventually got my Class A license. But the whole time, I'm still trying to figure it out. But I'm still getting myself into these situationships that are causing me to still be put into situations where I'm still learning, but without them lessons, you don't get no blessings. And I had to keep going through what I was going through to get these blessings. And even though moving forward in today, and I am writing a book, I'm currently writing a book about like everything that I've been through. So what I'm talking about right now is kind of like skipping past, fast forward everything. But what I will say is it has not been easy. It hasn't been easy at all. And it's like I say, I go through ups and downs with depression, anxiety, stress, all of that type of stuff. And I always try to figure out like how am I getting through it? But the only person I know, I mean, it's no other way to explain it but God. So the only thing I can say is to the ones that are listening is to keep on doing what you have to do, to listen to what God's trying to tell you, because that's the only way that you're going to get through it. Because you're not going to get through it by trying to put your faith into men. That's the biggest mistake I could have ever made, putting my faith into men. And then when I say men, I'm talking about biblically. That's men, that's women, that's humans. Putting your faith into humans. I mean, it's not going to work that way. God has to be the first person that you call on to every day, every night, and that's how you're going to get through what you need to get through. And that's what I've learned. So I know that this is your show and I've been and took over, but that's my story. That's a little bit of my story, and that's just me letting everybody know like this is some of the things that I've went through and I've gotten through and still going through.
But you can't take over anything somebody invited you to. Okay, you were invited on the show.
I know. I'm
So
just
you ain't
saying.
know
I'm
nothing.
just saying.
I invited you here,
Yeah.
so we good on that. But I'm gonna ask you a question though. At what point do you
Go
feel like
ahead.
God said enough? It's time to change direction. And was it when you caught the charge?
I really don't. I feel like God said it was enough when I tried to commit suicide
Okay.
in October of 2017, and I
Okay.
feel like that because that's when I started. That's when I started to kind of say, you know what, I want to start going to church. I want to get more into God. Like, even though I kept making mistakes, even after I was woke back then, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? I started to figure it out. Like, okay, I need to go to God because anytime something would happen, I'm calling on God. Versus before then, I didn't care. I remember cussing out old people. I mean, old people, people on canes. I didn't care.
You're cussing
I
out.
didn't care about adults because my mama didn't. I feel like my mama didn't give me didn't give me a reason to care about adults.
I
So
understand.
before then, I didn't care.
Yeah,
I had no care for nobody, no respect for nobody, and I'm not playing.
I believe it.
I did not care. So I feel like once I had my baby, or I found that I was pregnant with my baby, and I did try to commit suicide, I think that's when I figured out that God was there and wasn't leaving.
And I really appreciate the fact that you recognize God even in your I'm gonna call it a wilderness because I'm churchy. And this is
Hmm.
another thing I want to give you credit for, and don't miss this. But when we're in the I went to college at University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff back in 1990. I was a freshman. Jarvis, you were around then.
Okay.
You remember we had a biology professor, Jarvis, by the name of David Dedrick. And David Dedrick, on the first day of school, he would always, and the first day of class, he would ask us, what made us human beings. And as bright-eyed, bushy-tailed freshmen, we know because we have circulatory systems and respiratory systems, we're trying to get these scientific answers. And he said something very powerful to me, that stuck with me all these years. He said, "What makes us human beings is our abilities to adapt." And see, the thing
Hmm.
about it, Brittany, is when you go through the wilderness, you're gonna adapt anyway, but it's wise to develop wilderness tactics, right? See, it's certain kind of lilies that only grow
Absolutely.
in the valley. So, you know, I went through an
Mhm.
extended struggling season, but I came out of it with 2 degrees. You know what I'm saying? I'm struggling, but I'm like, you know what? While I'm down, I'm at least gonna get these degrees, you know. So when you went
Mhm.
through what you went through, that's why you didn't suffer through it, you suffered to it. That's why it was so easy to sell strawberries and make 18,000 chocolate covered strawberries and make $18,000. And that's why
Yes,
while you're
sir.
down, you go get the class B, the class B, the class A. Now you're driving, you're making the money you need to make. You do, because God puts things in stages and He works you through. And I'm gonna tell you the most powerful statement you made tonight for me, you know, because you made some powerful statements. But what was more powerful than anything, because you hadn't been listening the last few weeks, but I've been teaching about grace for about probably the last couple of months. And I watched how, even though
Mm.
you have this relationship that you have with your mama, even though you said there were certain things that didn't go right coming up, you kept on giving your mama grace. You couldn't even get a bad word out without trying to correct it to say, well, no, she did this, because you're able to give her
Right.
grace. That's when you're healed. When you're able to look at a
Mhm.
scar, know that it was once a sore, but you don't feel any pain associated with the scar anymore because it don't hurt no more. And now that you
Exactly.
realize, you talk to me. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. You go ahead. Tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Well, I was gonna say, no, you're absolutely right, and I wanted to say that that came with a lot of prayer. It came with a lot of self awareness type of tactics. Like I literally had to sit there and figure it out. Like, hey, I'm a mother. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. She's my mother. I know she's not perfect. She made mistakes. Her mom made mistakes, and I know what my mother went through as a upgrowing kid as well. She also talked about some of her struggles. She was molested, and
Wow.
her mother allowed the same man that molested her to still live with them.
Mm,
And I love my mama, so I think I feel sorry for her in a way, but at the same time, it doesn't take away the wounds that she caused to me, very bad wounds.
yeah.
But at the same time, like you said, I'm healed to the point enough to where I don't want to hold on to that. I don't want to, and I know we're promised death. If we're not promised nothing else, we promised death. And I don't want my mama to leave this earth and I'd be like, well, I wish I would have went ahead and made it work, or I don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through that. I'm done with that. And then at the end of the day, God says we're supposed to forgive everybody.
Yeah.
And who am I to not forgive her when I know one day I'm probably gonna need forgiveness from my own kids?
Yes, Lord.
So I just don't want to go through that. But I literally been praying so hard on my book because I don't think I left nothing out.
Okay.
And that's the one struggle that I do struggle with because I'm like, I hope that she understands when this book does come out because it may be some things in there that she didn't want to come out, but it's my story.
Yeah.
It's my testimony.
Yeah.
And I hope that she can understand because when it comes down to it, why do sometimes the abusers, and I'm talking about just people who get raped, whatever, the abusers often get mad. Like,
Yeah.
why would you say that? Why would you put that out? But this is my story, and why come I can't help someone else heal?
Yeah.
That's what this is about. It's about helping other people, and that's what I want to do.
Well, you
That's exactly what I want to do, and
you were
what I'm
supposed to
going
be
to
on this
do.
show tonight. You were supposed to be because I have that same testimony. There were certain things that I was scared to write in my book. And you know who ended up reading
Mm,
the book first? One of the people that I was afraid of hurting. And I watched her read and I saw tears
mm-hmm.
come to her eyes. But all she looked at me and said was, you got to be prepared because some people might not like you after they read your book. And I said,
Yeah.
Mama, and that's what I was talking about at that time. I said, Mama, but she wasn't an abuser because, like, I'm like you, Brittany. You know, parenting is on the job training. Sometimes we get it wrong, especially as young parents. You know what I'm saying? Women, what model do we have
Mm-hmm.
other than the one we saw before us? And then we try to, sometimes we raise in opposition to how we were raised because we don't want to be like that. So I get it, I get it, I
Mm-hmm.
get it. But she read it and she bought it. She tried to pay me for it. I gave it to her, but she tried to pay me for it, and we made it through it. Like you said, it's your story. You can prepare her for it, you know what I'm saying, and let her know, hey, this is what's going on with it. Because you said something very powerful, and I'm going to let you go. But she said, you said something very powerful just a minute ago. I think a lot of people missed it if they wasn't listening to what you said. You said, I'm healed enough now. Some people think that they got to be completely healed. They don't think that healing happens in stages, you know, but really sometimes you really want to be healed enough to go to the next phase. You feel what I'm saying? Because I
Yeah,
tell people now, you
absolutely.
know, if you were in bad relationships and you're ready to go into a new relationship, you'll never know how really healed you are until you go into your next relationship and you face another trigger. So you have to be healed enough to go forward. And you said you're healed enough now to give your mom that grace. And that's powerful, man. That give when especially when you realize that you've been given grace, it's easier to give grace. And I appreciate that. God kept you here for a reason. And I hope you stick around. I hope we get a chance to collaborate on something soon. Because like I said, you got a powerful testimony. And as soon as you write your book, please come here and let us talk about it. Let us help you promote it or do whatever we can to help you get it out there. Okay. But
I sure will.
appreciate you,
Thank
Brittany. I'm
you.
not gonna hold you tonight, but thank you for your testimony. Y'all do me a favor, give Brittany some love, put some
No
hearts in the
problem.
comment. Y'all do something. Let Brittany know that we appreciate her. Good night, ma'am. All right, that was a powerful testimony. Thank you so much, Brittany, for coming on and for sharing. Listen, let me take her name off right there. I had her name on there. But if anybody else wants to come on and talk about their new north, I got a few more minutes. I'll give you about 10 more minutes. And I'm going to go to bed because it's gotten late in the evening and the sun has already gone down. Y'all, somebody else give Brittany some hearts. She needs that. She needs that. She has survived the spirit of wanting to unalive herself. That's very powerful. She's gotten to a place where she's forgiven her mother. She's paid her debt to society, and she is on her way northward. God told her to change her direction, and now she's moving in the right direction. And you know what? She's not the only one. She's not the only one. And somebody tonight or somebody in the future is going to hear her story, and they're going to resonate, and they're going to relate to her story, and her story is going to save somebody's life. Listen, somebody right now is alive because Brittany survived. Now I'm gonna take Brittany's name out. I'm gonna let you fill in the blank. Guess what? Somebody right now is alive. It's there. Trust me, because it's the same link that Avery clicked. It's there, Jarvis. It's pinned right there at on my name. It's the same link that Avery clicked. So if you want to come on, you better hit that link, my friend. It's right there. It's pinned. I didn't send it to Avery separately, but I can't show you where it is. But if you want to come on, my friend, I'm trying to give you an opportunity, but it's there. Y'all, anybody else see the link? Y'all tell Avery, say it's right there. It's right there. It's right there. Because I know Avery's going to talk about his new north. Listen, instead of rushing them into warfare, God brought them through the wilderness to show them that he could provide for them in dry places, that he could feed them with manna, that he could bring water from a rock, that he could protect them when they didn't even have weapons, just to let them know that they didn't need Pharaoh. All they needed was him. You still don't see it, Jarvis? Yeah. He did it, all of them, to let them know. Listen, they went through the wilderness and they had shoes that grew with their feet. You don't see it either. I promise. Avery, I don't know if Avery can tell y'all where it is, but it's because I didn't send it to Avery separately, but it's right there pinned. Oh, he found it. Yay. He got it. Now, Alicia is proving that she's blind too, but she wears glasses, so I ain't gonna be mad at her. Avery, are you gonna show your face, or are we just gonna talk? Are you gonna show your face? Because if you just go show your face, then I would just let you call in, my friend. Because I need my video to look a certain way. Are you gonna show that face tonight? Show people your pearly whites and your green, blue eyes, whatever you have, Avery. Because I don't see you. All right, y'all. Should I let him on if he don't have his camera on? Y'all tell me. No, for real, I want y'all to if we on the camera, I want you to be on the camera. But otherwise, you can call the phone number and we could just listen to your voice. And I do that for video purposes. But I'm gonna go ahead and let him on this time, because this is new. Hold on. All right. Avery, you there?
This this
Why
is
you don't want to show?
Jarvis.
Why you don't want to show your face?
This is Jarvis Tally.
Oh, that's what I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Jarvis. You don't want to show your face?
I'm trying to, man. It
Yeah,
says stop cam. I'm start
uh,
cam. I've got everything
allow.
on,
Yeah, you
man.
should hit allow or something somewhere. This ain't.
Yeah,
There should be a place where you hit allow.
I did, man. It's not for some reason it's not liking it. I don't know.
It's not like
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have got it from the Dollar Tree. Yeah,
you shouldn't
okay.
have got. Yeah, right. You ain't know. You ain't know where a Dollar Tree. Yeah, you might go. I go to Dollar Tree and get candy. So I guess. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, we got Jarvis on. Talk to me for a little while. Talk to me. What's up? How did the show bless you tonight, or what did you want to introduce tonight?
Oh, it did bless me, man. I especially loved and appreciated the last guest, man, um, and your story as well, man. You know what I mean? The ability to for someone through adversity to understand what it means to lay sideways. You know what I mean? And I was there with you,
Yeah,
and me and you have much more in common than you realize. So it's a beautiful thing that you was able to share that story, and as well as the other sister, and I appreciate it. And there was a lot of things that I got from it. So your story, your whole show, man, is extremely important.
yeah.
And I hope the listeners here come to grasp how important and how valuable this segment is, you know. So I mean,
Let,
for
let's talk,
me,
let's talk let's talk though, for real though, since you're here. Let's
uh,
talk about some mountains that, because I know you've had some difficulties, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you've been very public
yes, sir.
in some of your challenges and your trials that you've had to go through over the last, I'm gonna say, last 5 to 7 years that you've had to
Mhm.
go through, and I know those were mountains, you know what I'm saying? And I know
Yes, sir.
sometimes and let me say this, sometimes mountains look like eclipses because they really darken the day where you really can't hardly see the sun. Right there you are,
Yes,
we
sir.
see you now, Avery, so don't do nothing crazy. We see you
Man,
now,
you
don't
call
do
me
nothing crazy.
Avery one more time.
I'm
My do
sorry,
my
but
hair
Jarvis, I'm sorry,
do
y'all
my
all
hair
light
look
skinned,
like
you know,
Avery's?
y'all all light skinned, bro. I'm sorry, y'all light skinned folk,
Nah,
I'm sorry.
Avery is funny
Yeah,
looking, man.
yeah, Avery. Why you call Avery funny looking, man? I'm see, you always
I
got to pick
always
on
I used to
somebody. I
mess
don't.
with him all the time, man.
You
On
used
the
to mess with him on
audience.
the show all the time. You sure did. I don't, but no, I keep, I don't know. I guess all light skinned people look like Alicia. I'm sorry, my fault. But anyway, but I know you've gone, Jarvis. I'm reading right there. I know you've gone through some your own mountains, but even in some of the mountains that you've gone through, what was it like when you heard the Lord say, "You've gone through this long enough. Now it's time to change directions"?
Um, you ever had a parent say that? Okay, you know what I mean. Now you can come eat. That's what it felt like. You know what I mean? Back in the
Wow.
day when kids used to get punished, they don't do it now because they would call defects on them. But back in the day when kids would get punished, they would say, you go to your room, you can't eat dinner tonight.
Oh wow. Yeah, they will
and
call it.
then,
Yeah.
and then, after a while, a parent would come by and say, "Okay, now you can come eat." It was I would
That's
equate
a
it
good analogy.
to that feeling, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
because I had hurt. I had hurt. And so it took an acceptance, for
Wow.
me for a while. But what I typed in earlier, there were some things that I wanted God to do for me, but there was also some things that God wanted me to let go of,
Yeah.
and do in honor of him. So I thought that I was doing a lot of things, but there were still some areas that I needed improving in. So it took a
Oh yeah.
whole culmination. But once those things came together,
Yeah.
and once I separated myself from a lot of things, and once I sacrificed enough, I did feel that voice one early morning, and that voice said, "Try him no more."
Wow.
And the moment that I heard that voice, my entire life changed.
Wow. So
It
you saying
did.
God still speaks?
Um,
I'm being very
God's
facetious. I'm being
God
very
speaks.
facetious to answer that question.
Yeah, no, 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 no. I know, no. But God speaks. But a lot of times we don't silence the noise around us enough
Mm,
to hear His voice. Meaning, well, a lot of us, for the first thing we do in the morning is we wake up in the morning. We either grab the remote or we grab our phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of taking that those moments to pray
That's good.
and then just take a complete silence.
That's good.
Sometimes you just got to lay sideways in silence. You know what I mean? Because what used to happen to me, and I'll be honest with you, Kirk, man, what used to happen to me, there was times that it would almost come through like a radio echo.
Yeah.
If you're spiritually in tune, you would hear spiritual voices that would come in and whether it was God or whether it was ancestors or whether it was, angels or if it was whatever it was, sometimes you would s- hear something that sounded like a radio
Wow.
voice coming in your ear, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that only happened to me in my life when I was spiritually closer.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
more I would introduce, as I mentioned, the more I would introduce sin and the more I would get back worldly, the farther I would get away from it and the less I would hear those voices. So God fixed a lot of my problems. He did. He did. And I can only blame myself for the times that I would get back and I would forget. But God is faithful. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
patient. You know what I mean? He's like, all right, but the
That's
storms
good.
that I delivered you from, I can give right back to you. And so the divorce, man, I went through that.
Yeah.
The no furniture laying sideways, I went through that. But I pray you never have to go through it. But losing, earthly parents, and then losing, a child, and then
Yeah.
losing things that are just that mean the universe to you, you know, you question why God allows these things to happen. But
Yeah.
when it comes to things being placed on people, he places them on certain people.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with my own daughter. You know what I mean? And that parents only discipline children that they really love. Because if they don't, excuse my friends, if they don't give a fuck about you, you gonna do your own thing.
Pretty
Do
much.
what you got to do out there, whatever. I don't care. Just
For
don't bring
sure.
it back home. But God isn't like that.
Yeah.
If He really loves you, He gonna put something on you. He
Yeah.
gonna he gonna put a weight on top of you. He gonna pull them shoulders down. You know what I mean? He's gonna make you have to go physically go through something. And when you go through it and you do it successfully, like I'm like you, James. You probably like I said, we got a lot in common. My dad used to shine his shoes every night.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was homeless and when I was in Alabama and I was walking the streets, guess what I did? I pulled out that little buffing kit. I still shine my shoes because I guess
Wow.
guess what? If I'm walking to work, they're not gonna know what I'm going through. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? If I'm
Yeah.
changing clothes at McDonald's, my shirt is still rolled up nice enough where they know that I look decent. And it's
Yeah.
gonna be a certain point that I'm still walking so upright that you know what I mean, and I made it through. That God's gonna say, okay, all
That's
right,
good.
don't try him no more. He all right. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
good. And
Yeah.
so people don't realize, man, what others are going through, right? Because
Right.
like you said, you weren't gonna look like some people say, a lot of people a lot of people look like love to say I don't look like what I've been through.
Yeah, some of them do.
No, I look exactly like what I've been through. Hey,
Yeah, some of them
man,
do.
that's some buzz. I
Not
don't
today.
cuss right now.
Not
Yeah,
today.
huh?
Not
Yeah,
today.
no,
Not
but
today.
I'm cool with that though. You
Not
know what I'm
today.
saying? Because let me
You
tell you
don't look
something.
like what you've been through. James, you look good. You know what I'm
I look
saying?
exactly like I'm saying because the thing is, it depends
Nah.
on what you hold on. What the part you're missing. Let me get to my point. I'm only at the comma. Let me get to the period. Watch this. Because see, you looked at the seed, right? In the seed was the process.
All right.
I always saw the front of the package. I knew what the
Okay.
front of the package was going to look like, right? When you go to Home Depot and you decide you want to plant some flowers in the yard, a lot of times you don't just go get the flower, you get the seed, right?
Okay.
And so the seed is planted in the ground, and if it stays in the ground long enough and you put water on it, you put fertilizer on it, you put shit, I ain't gonna say, you put manure on it, you put all this stuff on it,
Right.
eventually it comes forward. And that's what I expected it to look like because I saw the front of the package. See, you say I look like you say I don't look like what I've been through, but I always saw me here.
No,
hold on.
I mean, you always envision yourself right there. Okay.
Yeah. So I look exactly like what I've been through. That's me. And that's my perception. Now you can't change it. I ain't gonna argue with you on it.
No, you don't have to argue with me, man, because you said been through.
I look
you didn't say what I knew. You didn't say I look like what I knew I would be. You said I look like what I've been through.
That concoction was just like that batter that mama had in that mixing bowl.
Nah.
That earned up being a cake. Yeah, that's
hot cornbread in the bowl.
Hey, y'all gonna kick Jarvis out.
Don't look like nothing like when you fried it in.
I look like what I've been through. Jarvis, hey, Jarvis Talley. Hey, y'all listen. Jarvis got his testimony. I got my testimony. But one thing about it, I sure ain't been tell Jarvis his testimony. God bless you tonight, Jarvis. I'm about to get off. That's my boy. Y'all say good night. I love you back, boy. And hold on, when I kick him out, watch this. And I still look like, hold on, I messed up.
Yeah. You don't look nothing like what you've been through. You better cut my mic off. Look at him
kick him out for real. All right, there you go. That's how I wanted to do right there. I still look like he's going. I have the kicking power, and I wear a size 12, y'all. So if I want to kick you out of here, I'm gonna kick you out of here. I'm gonna kick you as far as I can. So he's kicked. That's my boy. Let me come back and say, bye. All right, I kicked him out again. So I look exactly like what I've been through. No, I'm joking, y'all. I'm joking, y'all. Listen, it's been real tonight. This has been a rich conversation. I'm tired now. But listen, some of us are frustrated because we thought we were late, right? But God was just waiting for Egypt to get out of you. He didn't just want to take them out of Egypt, but he also had to take Egypt out of them. That's why they had to let certain things die, because they couldn't go into this new God. There's some stuff going into your next season that has to fall off. Apostle Paul said, I die every day. A little bit more every day. I die to some wheels. I heard Charles E. Williams say that I died to the wheels, my own will. I died to some ways. I died to some of my wants, because the things that I used to do, I don't want to do them things no more, because I'm grown now. I've matured to a certain place, and the things that used to bother me, they don't bother me no more, because I'm healed. I'm delivered. And that's where I'm trying to be. So now, you know what? It's time to move forward on the path. Hold on. I'm moving too slow. On the path to better. And I invite you to join me on this path to better. It's time to move forward. So who's ready to move forward with me? If you're ready to move forward with me, raise your hand in the chat, and let's say that we're going to move forward and we're going to go towards our new north. All right. That's our show tonight. I hope you have enjoyed it. I certainly have. I thank Avery. I thank Brittany. And I thank the other Avery that his real name is Jarvis. I keep calling him that. So I'm sorry. My bad, Jarvis. I know your name. Really, I do know your name. There's no way not to know your name. But it's been real. It has been real. And as I always say in closing, I would announce the contest, but I'm changing the deadline on that because we got some slow participation right now. So I'm moving that back a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna create a commercial, and I'll just spread it like that. But as I always say in closing, the world is changing. My question for you is, why do you remain the same? Thank y'all for tapping in. Good night, and I'll see y'all next time. Love y'all.
Intellectuals do. Intellectuals do. With James Kirkland.
Powerful and provocative. Prophetic and practical.
Have you ever found yourself
Are you dating for that person?
Informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectuals do.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Intellectuals